So I've been talking about the neurotypical social hierarchy the last couple of days, and there's a couple of caveats that I didn't mention that I feel like are worth mentioning. Um, so I'm a recovering codependent and people pleaser, which means I will naturally put everyone's emotional mental state above my own as more important. So that made navigating the hierarchy a lot easier for me before I knew it existed. Um, so you can step out of the hierarchy and you can ask your superiors questions. However, you have to do a certain amount of ego stroking and addressing the hierarchy in order to not ruffle said feathers for them. So when you say things like, I'm sorry, I might just be dense, or I'm really having trouble understanding, if I could just use a little more help, it essentially puts the blame or the fault on you instead of them, which makes them feel like they're not being attacked. Because if they're above you, then the fault is supposed to naturally lie with you. Now I know this next hot take is not going to be super fun for everybody, and I recognize that it comes from a place of privilege because, one, I'm incredibly high masking, so I haven't had that much trouble. I'm a white lady, so I just get away with a lot, and I'm a people pleaser, so I haven't had too many terrible run-ins with the hierarchy. But I don't know that they choose to do this. Like, it's not an opt-in option for them. The way neurodivergence brains are wired for efficiency over hierarchy, our brains will just naturally find the easiest and best way to do something. That's why we do things like ask clarifying questions. We have to choose to learn and run a social cue program. It's not something that just happens with us. For them, their brains are wired for hierarchy, or if you replace it with social cues. So their brains naturally just navigate these social cues, and they have to choose to learn how to find the most efficient way. So it's not like they're doing it intentionally. If you ask them, most of them don't even understand or know that this hierarchy is real, and they certainly would say that they view people equally, but it's because their brains are literally wired that way. And I think to opt out would require a certain amount of self-awareness that most neurotypicals just never had to build. Because as neurodivergents, we've had to build a neurotypical lens to see through, so that we could present properly and navigate through their world, but it's their world. So they've never had to build a neurodivergent lens to see through. So to them, literally no other way exists. So I'm not saying they're blameless or that you have to deal with them. I am saying it might make it a little easier to not want to rip their face off when they make you dance this jig unnecessarily.